Now come on through and say hello. Hello everyone. Oh yes, Emma liked the intro photo. So what we do usually is we have a little chat while I drink my tea, and we let everybody come in and join. And what did I want to tell you about today? Oh, how I chose my fabric for today. So good evening, Sue. Now this is a doorstop. I made this a long time ago, and it's from it's not a fabric panel, but it's a piece of fabric that has lots of different colours in, and I made it a long time ago, and I was just thinking that it's got the Jubilee colours on it, but they're not in your face. You know, it's got the red, the white and the blue, and I was thinking I might like to make something for the Jubilee that's subtle enough that you can have it around all year if you want to, but obvious enough that it's the red, white and blue of to celebrate. She's at work ironing, everyone. Poor Renee. Hopefully we're going to give you a little light relief, Renee. So yes, I was wondering whether you would like some Jubilee things to do, but aren't obviously for the Jubilee. You can use them at other times of the year. And what I decided to do was give you an apron that is reversible. So you can have one side, you can have the red, white and blue, and on the other side you can have whatever you want. So let's have a look. Here we go. So we've got the red panel at the top, and all I did, and this is fat quarters, so these are, now I'm going to double check, I think they are, when I cut them they were 18.5 inches long, okay, and 3 inches wide. So what you can do is use any fat quarters that you want to. This is quite obviously for the Jubilee, you know, it's got really bright colours on it, but the one that I'm going to make now is less obvious, it's less garish, okay. But yes, so these are, and even this top bit is 2 of the parts of the fat quarter, so these are 3 inches wide as well. So you can use 3 fat quarters to make this if you want to. And then on the back, let's flip it over, we've got, people that have been here for a while, you will recognise this fabric. We've made lots of things with this. Now I don't know if you can still buy it, it's from Dunelm, and I fell in love with it. So we've got our cushions in the kitchen. I even made a hat of it last year, not intending to wear the hat to match my kitchen, but the whole point is it's reversible. So you can wear this for New Year, you can wear this side for the Jubilee, and then you can wear this side normally. Now the reason that the waistband or the tie is hanging off is because I changed my mind of how I was going to make it. What I wanted to do was have the sides open so that you could thread your your tie through, but I've changed my mind. We still want to do it reversible, so it's still going to be 2 fabrics put together. Now you don't have to do this effect if you don't want to. It's absolutely fine. Oh, Susan said it's now out of stock in Dunelm. Is that because I bought it all, Susan? So you don't have to do this, obviously. You can do 2 different colours that match your kitchen. You can do something that has more of an Easter feel to it. It's entirely up to you, but the whole point was that you wouldn't have to be stuck with your platinum apron all year round. So I'm going to bring in my other fabrics. So I've still got this one, so I've still got this one to use for my one side. Let's move this one over, and these are the other fabrics. Now they don't scream at you red, white and blue, obviously those are the colours that they are, but I think that you could have this and use this all year round, and you wouldn't necessarily think that you were just celebrating the Jubilee. It's got that sort of Kazakhstan vibe with the flowers, with the florals and with the spots, but it's just a mix of, as I said, lots of fat quarters all together, but all having this, the main colour in this one is the red. So I made this, I'm making this as a gift for somebody. So let's see, now these are 3 inches wide. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So I've got 11 on here, and I'm just going to step back a little bit so you can see when this is around me, it almost goes to my hips. Now I can't give you exact measurements. I can give you the measurements for the length, but depending on how many you put together will depend on how wide it's going to be. So if you want to get your fabrics together, decide how wide you want your apron to be, and then put your colours all together in strips. So start off with one strip. So with this one, what I did is, this is my centre colour, and then I worked the pattern outwards. So they are all matching. They sort of, I don't know what the pattern is, but I've got this one in the centre, then I've got two blues, and then I've got the stripe again. So that's how I've done it. But if you wanted it smaller or larger, you would just add more or take some away. So that's how you're going to gauge your measurements. Now the length, as I said, they are 8.5 inches long. Half an inch of this will disappear into the waistband, and then we've got the waistband to add on to that. So when it's all finished, I'll measure it again, and then you can see how long you want to have it. And it goes to about my knees. You might want it smaller, you might want it larger, but I couldn't do a pattern for everybody. I just wanted to give you the guidelines on how to do it. So we're just going to round off these corners. So let's bring this down. Now I've got, depending on how curved you want this, so these are the shapes. So you could pop that, let's do it on this end. You can pop that on the end here, and then, shall we do that one again? I had to use the noisiest thing in the sewing room. Right, so I want to take off some of this corner. So if I push that all the way up there and then draw a line across here, it's going to give me quite a big curve. But if you wanted a smaller curve, then you know, it's up to you what shape you want to use. Now I started off with this one, and I felt that it wasn't curved enough. Oops, thank you, Renee. So I decided to use this one. Now the way that I'm going to cut it is, I'm going to put them both together. There we go. And then I'm going to place that on the curve, or place the curve on the edge, and then I need my pencil. I'm going to just draw that in. Now I'm doing this on the stripe side. Now this could be, if you're not using stripes, if you just want to use one plain colour, then you can. But I want to make sure that they both match up. So there we go, bringing my scissors. Now these are the scissors that I was talking to you about last week. These are my new sharps. So they are Fiskars, and I was ID'd before I was allowed to use them, allowed to buy them. So I'm hoping that they are amazing. Let's listen. I love that sound. You can obviously use a rotary cutter, but for camera purposes I didn't want to bring the cutting mat in. So I'm just going to cut that all the way around. And now you can see there's my curve. Okay, and I need to put that onto the second fabric as well. So let's bring this one in. Now my my dragonfly are not directional. Let's turn this over and lining up those two outside pieces. Okay, and then I just need to cut that again. Now I'm going to just draw it and cut it, because I find that easier. There we go. I mean, it doesn't really matter because I am going to be sewing along that line just to get rid of those additional bits of fabric. But when you do yours, you will probably use your rotary cutter. Actually, there is a question: who uses a rotary cutter generally, and who uses their scissors? I wonder if it's sort of a 50-50 split, or whether it's slightly less or slightly more. I've only started using a rotary cutter about 2 years ago, so I was just following my nan. Following my nan, I just use scissors because that's what she did when she was teaching me how to sew. So there we go. Emma says rotary cutter all the time. There we go. So you've now got your two fabrics ready, and what we need to do is join them together. So I'm going to bring in my pin cushion. Now before I do sew this, what I will do is I will show you how we did the binding, and then I can bring the sewing machine in for just one step. There we go. Karen says that she uses both too. If you haven't tried a rotary cutter, then I do advise trying it, because it is quite an interesting way and an accurate way, but it is something that takes practice, I guess. And you do need a good ruler. And the other thing that I didn't realise when I first started using it is that you do need to replace your rulers, because what happens is you will start to take nicks and lines out of your ruler, and what will happen over time is stops being straight, which I hadn't used them on enough to have thought about that. So there you go. There are my pins going all the way around. Now the idea of our binding is, now I've already made this to save you having to sit watching me do it, but I have got a little piece that I'm going to demonstrate with. So that is all I needed, because what I'm going to do, I'm going to cut that in the center, and I'm just attaching it at either end. So let's bring in our wall mat, and there's another piece of that fat quarter that I had. So what I did is I took a piece of fabric. Now I think this one was just 2.5 inches long, whereas this blue one is 3 inches wide. So it's up to you what you want to do. So you fold this in half and press, fold into the center and press, fold in again, and then you would use your iron to iron that down. Now for those of you that have seen our Amy shawl bag, this is how we did the straps for it. So I'm putting a crease in there, and what you do is you fold this back on itself, and then you've got your 2 leaves here, and you need to sew across this bit. Now the reason we learnt this method was because when we did the Amy shawl bag quite a few months ago with the PU, it was the best way to do it, because we then weren't sewing over the front of the PU. So there are my stitches, okay, and then what you need to do is you fold this back in on itself, and you'll see that's a little bit too bulky. So what you can do is grab your scissors, and then you just need to snip. Now not all of it, because if you go too far this may split. And then you take your pokey tool, you push that out, and then you would iron. You would have ironed this all the way down, but there is your binding piece, and then you sew all the way along there. Let's bring in the white one. I know it's harder to see with the white one, but you bring that one in, and then you can see that I've sewn that all the way down, and now I have my perfect piece of binding. There you go. Sue says, have you eaten your secret stash yet? Do you know what I did, Sue? So Sue is talking about my chocolate. I've been hiding it in my sewing machine, and I asked my husband if he would like a piece of chocolate, and I showed him where they were hiding. So I said he couldn't eat the mini eggs because they were for Easter, for our Easter demos, but he's now had 2 packets. So I need to find another hiding place. Right, we're going to cut this in half. There we go. And that is now ready to be used as our waistband. Now again, I'm not giving you the measurements because your measurements will be different to mine. Okay, let's move that one out of the way. And I'm going to bring in the sewing machine. Our fabric's there. Now I'm going to bring down the other camera ready for our other close-up. For those of you that haven't joined us for our demos before, let me just set this up, and then you'll be able to see. You'll be able to follow along. Let's just, there we go. How's that? Might need to bend it slightly. There we go. Can you still see? There we go. Let's just, I want to get this right because there's not much point in having a top-down camera without you being able to see perfectly. There we go. I think that's good. That's good. Oh, Violet says, hi Dawn, sorry I'm late. I forgot the news was on for an extra half an hour. Oh, I see. Well, you're very welcome joining us. We were asking questions, Violet. Do you use a rotary cutter, or do you use your scissors, or do you use both? I'd be very interested to find out what everybody does. So what we're going to do is we're going to place our fabric. Now it doesn't matter which way around that you put it. I need my pin cushion. So I like to keep my pin cushion on the throat of my machine, so I can just pop that up there. Now I'm lining up the edges of my fabric with my foot, and then I'm just going to sew all the way down. Now I've got the curve at the bottom, so I'm going to go fairly slowly when I get to the bottom, but as I always say, when you're sewing a curve, not too fast and not too slow. You just want to sort of do a steady movement. There we go. And my curve is coming up now. So what I'm doing is I'm keeping this edge of my foot level with the fabric, and then as it comes to the curve, all I'm doing is just turning my hand, and it's just pulling that fabric around. Now the reason I keep my pin cushion there is because I can just easily pop my pins in there. And when you've got such a wide throat space as I have, it's lovely to have your pin cushion to hand. So those pleats, if you do use yours, if you do use, if you've used a pieced rubber fabric, then you just need to make sure that your seams are flat when your foot goes over them. And these are sliding under really easily, so I'm not having to worry too much about that. And then again, my curve is coming up. It's a little bit harder to do it if your seam, if you have pieces and pieces together, then it's a little bit harder because your foot won't want to go as smoothly. Now that's slightly coming off, so just readjust and go all the way around. There we go. Could you show me how to sew bias onto a curve without it bunching up? I can, Susan. Now, on Saturday, now one of the things I wanted to show you, I'll go back to the front camera in a moment. What I wanted to show you was how to put pockets in. Now I know we did it with the pyjamas, but I wanted to put some pockets on the front of the apron, but I knew that it wouldn't be time today, so what I wanted to do was show you how you can, and it made me think about doing some pockets on our Saturday Live, because our Saturday Live can be a little bit longer. So let's get that one out of the way. I'm just going to go back to the other camera. There we go. I'll just pop this one out of the way. Where have I put the hairband? I do it every time. I've put the hairband down. Doesn't matter. You can't see it at the minute. I'll wait for the editor, the director to come back and he can do it. Right. We have our, let's move that one over. So we have our curve going all the way around. But yes, in answer to that question, Susan, we will be looking at doing that on Saturday. Okay, so I will make a pocket with some bias on it. Okay, and if I'll message you after this, and you can tell me what fabrics you're using as well, because then hopefully I can replicate the fabrics that you're using. Okay, so we've sewn all the way along here. Now normally you might want to get your pinking shears here, but I learnt that doing snips on a curve, if you're doing clothes or something like this that you want it to be brilliantly smooth for, then it's best to do some notches or some snips just in there and not using your pinking shears, because when you do your pinking shears they're very uniform but they won't go in as closely as you need to. So that was the whole point of buying these very sharp scissors. So let's hope they don't let us down. So I'm just, there we go. Should we go back to the other camera? and then you can just see. So all I'm doing is just doing little snips as close as I can, and then what would happen with the pinking shears is you probably wouldn't get in that close. Let's turn it around that way, might be a little bit easier to. Right, I'm just going to move the camera down, everyone, and turn. There we go. Try and move those other things out of shot. Right, there we go, we can see now. And just snipping all the way along that curve. And I'm going to bring in the other side. You don't need to do it for the straight pieces, it's just this curve here. And then I will bring my iron in. And these are brand new, and already, could you see they were faltering a little bit. Just going to go all the way around that curve. And it will just help when we're turning it around the right way. Just a few more just at the bottom. There we go. And now, let's turn that one back around that way. So we have our notches in here, which is going to make this go perfectly folded over. I'm going to bring in the wall pressing mat and bring in my iron. There we go. And then what we need to do is turn this right sides out. And then as you are turning, just push your finger into those seams and just pull them all level, because you've got, if you're using the pieced fabrics as well, you will need to do this because they won't all lie smoothly because you've got all those pleats in there. So just pushing your hand in, and then just give it a little wriggle, and it's why it's very important. Now make sure that your steam is off your iron, because this will take a little while. And what you want to make sure is you've got all of that fabric showing here and none of the other fabric underneath, because when you turn it over you're going to have the spotty fabric showing where your purple fabric is. Okay, and then you can kind of feel the seam if you give it a wriggle all the way along. So can you see there, that's folded over. So what I need is the point. There we go. And that's why you need to turn your steam off, because it will catch your fingers. So again, finding that other one and just pushing that out. And then what you could do, now I didn't do it on the other one, what you could do is you could do some top stitching, and that's what I will do on the other one that I made. Because as I said, this one is going to be a gift, so for somebody. I'm not going to say who, I don't think they're watching, but usually when I say that I think you know who it's for. Oh, Violet, I didn't see Violet's reply. Violet says that she uses scissors. Do you know, my nan always used scissors. I love the sound of cutting fabric with scissors. It's not quite the same when you're using the rotary cutter. So I'm going to do the same going up here. Pushing that out. Now you will have seen on the one that I did as the demo, I had the blue at the top as the waistband, and then I had purple, just move this around, I had the purple or the matching fabric at the waistband for the other side. Now I had a thought about it, and I thought the best way to do it is to find a colour that matches both of your fabrics. If you are making this as a reversible apron, that if you find a colour that matches both, and then use that. So I'm using a white, so there you can see that's shaped all the way around, and then hopefully when I turn it over you cannot see any of the other colour. I mean, you can see it there because it's underneath, but when this is hanging down you can slightly see the red and the blue over there. So we need to push that back that way. It just means it's not perfectly in the centre on that seam. mean, it's up to you how exact you want to be, but as this is a gift for somebody, I do want to make it perfect. There we go, let's have a look. That's better. And then, as I said, what I do is I will top stitch so that they stay all the way around, because when this goes in the wash, which it will when you're using it as an apron, you will want to wash it. Okay, so we've got our apron there, and I'm going to bring in our other fabric. Now I will tell you the measurements for this, although you may want to change the measurements for yours. So there we go, let's open it out, and here is my ruler. So we are 12 and a tiny bit inches, so 12¼ inches long. Okay, and then I'm going to make myself do some maths now. Sorry, 12½ inches wide. Okay, and no, let's do it this way. I didn't want to do it that way because I didn't want the reflection of the light. So we've got 14 inches, 15, 16, 17, 18 and 19 inches that way. Okay, so it's 19 inches that way and 12¼ inches along that way. So what you need to do is fold back, let me just do a measurement on here, so it's ½ inch. So fold back ½ inch at the bottom and ½ inch again, and then you can pin that if you want to. Now what I did is I ironed it, so you can see that it's already got the crease marks in there. And then you need to turn it around, do the same on that side, so fold in ½ inch and ½ inch there, and then fold it all the way over and match those seams up. There we go, and that is going to be the waistband at the top. Now the way that I thought this through is because you wouldn't want this to be the width of your waistband and then your tie that's going to go around your waist. So what you need to do is you need to put your tie inside here, but we're going to do our side seams first. So let's put that to one side, and you will need to bring your pins back. Okay, and thinking about this, do your pleats on this one and then turn it over and do your pleats on the second one. You don't have to, hi Lynn, you don't have to. What you can do is you can do your pleats on both of them, and then whatever you do on the front will be on the back, but it might be nice to have it reversed. Okay, there we go. Oh, I can just see Jackie's joined us. So what I'm doing, I'm going to fold this blue one in to the center. There we go, and I'm going to pop a pin in it. I'm going to fold that blue one in to the center and pop another pin in that side. Now you can use clips for this, you might find it a little bit quicker. There we go. So you just want them meeting in the middle, and then choose wherever you want your next one to be. I'm going to do this blue one here, and I'm going to fold it all the way over. Yes, I think that gives it a nice pleat. And then I'm going to do the same on the other side. So bringing this one, hiding that blue all the way over. Now you can press these if you want to. I think it just gives a nice shape and definition to the apron if you do this. There we go, and then we need to do the same on the other side. So let's turn this one over. Okay, and I find the center. Now you can do all of your measurements exact, but I'm just going to wing it here. So I'm going to fold and do that pleat. ½ inch there, ½ inch there. There we go. As I said, you can do yours exact because you'll put all your measurements in yours. There we go. And then, right, let's move this one. Maybe there. So all I need to do now is make sure that these are the same length. So here we go. And then the other side. Is that level? I think so. I'll pop a pin in there. And then those should be level on that side and level on that side. There we go. And then all you need to do is slide, where's my white fabric? Bring this back in. And then what you need to do is slide this into here. But it's going to be too long because you need to bring the other sides in. Let me just, I'm just going to move the camera up out of the way, everyone. There we go. There we go. Right, so that is how you would do your waistband, and you can see that it looks good on that side and then it looks good on that side. Okay, but what we need to do is bring the sides in, and then we need to add our ties as well. Okay, so let's go back to the other camera, moving that out of the way. So we've got our folds in there. What you need to do is bring this down. Okay. You can see that I've already put my creases in where they need to be. Move this one across, and we need to figure out how far in we need to go. So I'm going to put a mark. Now the reason I've got lots of fabric here is because infamously, when you use a white fabric, if you use one layer, let me hold this up. When we use one layer, can you see? You can see through there. So what I wanted to do is make sure I could do enough folds into the fabric so that it was more than one layer, and therefore you wouldn't be able to see those folds. Okay, so that's the whole point of having that folded over twice. So let's bring this bit down there. Now let me just think. So these have got to go on the inside. Now I need to check which end I didn't cut. So there's my frayed end that side, and my frayed end on that side. And right, I'm just rethinking this, everyone. Bear with me for a minute. Do we need to do our seams on that side first and then fold them over? No, we don't. We need to do them that way. So I'm just double checking. So these need to be, when you are putting something on the inside of something, it's the same as if you're doing a little zipper tab or something. What you need to do is make sure that you've got them facing the correct way. So these need to be on the outside of whatever it is that you're making. So this is our waistband, so it needs to go on the outside. Okay, so that's my frayed side. I'm going to do this one first, and I want it at the top. So there we go, and I'm going to fold that over, and then that is just sitting there. So when we turn that right side out, it's going to be at the top. So I'm going to pop a pin in there just to make sure it behaves. We need to hide it inside because we don't want to be sewing over it when we're doing the bottom. There we go. Now I'm going to bring this one back in. So that needs to be our seam. Can you see? I've already did some folded lines with the iron so that I know where that needs to be. So there, pulling it out to the other side and then folding over there. Here we go. Now we don't need this bit of fabric, but I'm going to remember I need a seam allowance, so I'm just going to cut down that piece. Now I will give you, as I said, the measurements at the end, but you will be making this to fit yourself. So take that bit off, and then we need our other strap is here. Now remembering that's our cut edge, no, that's our sewn edge, that's our cut edge, so the cut edge needs to go on the outside, the bit with the raw edges, lying it flat. Now another point to make is where you've done your, now it depends how you did your binding. If you did just one layer of stitches, which I did at the bottom, then you'll need to make sure that either both of them are facing downwards or both of them are facing upwards. To save not having to worry, you could have done two layers of stitches, but I didn't, I did one. So this one has got these stitches at the bottom, so I need to make sure that this one has got the stitches at the bottom too. So let's move that out of the way. I'm going to lay that again where that center is, and you can see my folded line down here. Fold that over and pin. So what I'm going to do now, making sure those are inside, is I'm going to sew down both of those sides, and then we're going to be turning it round the other way and folding up this bit, and then we're nearly finished. So let's bring the machine in, and I will bring the other camera down. There we go. Now I've had lots of feedback on the cameras saying that people are really enjoying the fact that they can see all these different angles. There we go. Perfect. So I have got white and white in my top and bottom threads. So this is going to take a little bit of stress going backwards and forwards, being tied up and untied. So there is my seam. So needle down, and I'm just going to back stitch a couple of times and then going forwards just to make sure I've got that tie secure. There we go, and then back down. Okay, lining up those two. Now before I do the second side, I'm going to recheck my seam allowance. The reason being, I mean, because you've done some pleats on there, you don't have to worry too much. But because we've done some pleats, we can sort of move them back and forth. But let's just make sure that side's going to go there, and it's that line there. Perfect. I just wanted to make sure. It's always best, what's the saying? Measure twice, cut once. So measure twice, sew once, and then no seam unpicker, hopefully. Let's move that over because there is my the crease mark that I did. Back stitch, just to make sure that it really is in there, and then just sewing all the way down to the bottom. And back stitch. There we go. Just moving that out of the way. So let's turn this. I will snip those off actually. And then think of this as a corner. So you can snip that corner off. Same on this side. Just move those little threads out of the way, and then we're going to turn it back around. And then what you have is your tie there, and your second tie is there, and that is going to be your waistband, and that's going to tie around there, which is why I haven't given you exact measurements, because as I said, yours will be different to mine. Now I'm going to bring the wall pressing mat in, because I want to just line up these seams here, and then we're going to be folding those 1/2 inches that we measured back in. Okay, lining that one up. There we go. Now Jackie, did we ask Jackie? Jackie, do you use scissors or do you use a rotary cutter? I was asking everyone just sort of get a general idea. I'm going to work out whether it's a 50-50 split. A few people said actually that they use both. So let's fold this now. So we've already got those crease marks in there. What you might want to do is give the corners a press. I'm just going to fold mine in, okay, and then fold them in again, because we've already done all the work by using our iron. Now without my iron, my sewing job would be much harder, because it does a lot of the work for me when I'm doing seams and hems. I'm sure many of you will agree. There we go. And now I have a little casing. Now where I got the idea for this was actually a pocket that we did that had a casing at the top, and then it had the curved pocket in the bottom, and I thought to myself, that looks just like an apron. Let me just move that camera out of the way again. Right, so we now have this ready. Now what you will see is you can see a seam line here through the white fabric, so you could put some fusible interfacing on there if you wanted to, but what I've got is, because I've folded these over, you're not going to see the red and you're not going to see the blue of the apron fabrics. Okay, so that one is already there. We're going to push it inside. Now I'm doing it the opposite way to how you would be doing it. Do you know what I haven't done? I haven't sewn over my let's just bring the machine in and I'll explain as I go. Bring this bit back in, because let's move that down. When you are sewing and you've got pins on something like pleats, no matter what shape you do, if you've got pins in there, it's quite hard to let me just move that down a little bit more. There we go. It's quite hard to do it with pins in, so what you should do is do a little basting stitch. And there we go. Now I'm going to take the pins out, because I would actually like those two completely pushed together. Look at that for pattern matching. Pattern matching always works when you don't plan it to. There we go. So let's just stitch across there, and then find our other pleat. And I can do this with all 6 of the pleats here. That one. You just need a short basting stitch. Now you can change your stitch length if you want to, but I know what will happen is I will forget to change it back. So I'm going to just keep it as my normal stitch length. Let's do that one. Cutting my thread. And then my centre one has actually moved. I obviously didn't pin that very well. But as I mentioned before, you will have measured yours and done yours perfectly. Let's sew that one. And then what we need to do, just move the machine out of the way quickly, because I need to realign that other one, so making sure this is even there. Let's pop a pin in here, and then I need to see how big, actually, I don't need one in there because I've done such big ones on the outside. We'll see how that looks. As I said, when you are doing yours, you will make sure that yours are all in the right place. Let's just there we go. All of them are done. Let's just move that camera out of the way. So I'm just going to give this a shake, because because it's like a bag, it's all it all just needs to be realigned. There we go. Perfect. So there are my pleats. Okay, now I've still got a pin in this side. Take that one out. And now what you need to do is slide this inside here. Let me just level up these fabrics. I don't think my dandelions were lined up perfectly when I started. So there we go. So that's all laid flat, and then what I need to do is slide it inside here. Okay. Now the reason that we did this fold is because we need to make sure that this darker fabric doesn't go past that seam there, okay? Because you will be able to see it. Now I'm just going to pop a pin on this side. I can move it after. Just remember to remove it because you don't want to sew over it, because I want to hold that flat just while I do this bit. So I've pushed that inside there. So what you need to do is find the edge of your seam and lay it up against that colour there, okay? And then you can pop a pin in. It will be tricky to put a pin in because you've got the other fabric on the other side. I'm just going to go through those pleats. There we go. Same on here. Just pop a pin in. Trying not to go through the other side. If you do, don't worry, because you can just take it back out. So again, lining up that one with that top fabric and then popping a pin in. And then flipping it over. And we now have, we've just got our two pleats on that side. And it doesn't matter quite so much on this side, I don't think, because it is a lighter colour. So I'm going to pop that in there. What I need to remember is, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to put a pin here and I'm going to push it backwards. But when I'm sewing, what I need to remember is that that pin is there because I'm going to be sewing from the other side and I don't want to get that fabric. Okay. Now my pleat is not lying flat, so if that happens to you, pin this side, and move that over. Hang on, my pin has gone all the way through. There we go. It'll take a little bit of wrangling, but don't worry, it will all be worth it. There we go. So that one's lying flat, and then I'm just going to move it all the way along to pin that side. Now, when you're making yours, you're not going to have the worry of where the camera is, and you'll be having it facing you, which will be much easier, I think. So I'm going to push that way, pop a pin in there, and then I think I need to pop a pleat just in the middle, about there. Hang on, here we go. One more. There we go. And just remember when you're sewing that you have those pins in there, okay? Because I do want to sew from the other side. Now I said I've got white in the top and I've got white in the bottom, so it should match. I'm not going to go too close to here because I might miss the other side because they may not be perfectly balanced. So I'm going to go up about 1/4 of an inch and sew, and then what I can do is I can come back down and I can do a second line of stitching if I want to. So we'll bring the machine in once more, and then we are nearly done. See if I can get this camera angle right. Let's just tweak it. I think that's okay. There we go. Now what you need to remember is how many layers of fabric you've got here now. So remember your pins. I'm going to take that one out. But just go really slowly, and hopefully you won't sew over your pins. Now I know some people do. It's entirely up to you. I'm not going to tell you what's right or what's wrong. You do whatever you want to do. Now I have got these folded fabrics here, and then 2 folds of fabric there, and then 2 folds of fabric under here. So there's about 10 layers of fabric here. So my machine may not want to do this. I'm going to make the stitch length longer, and if it doesn't want to do it, I should just use the side crank. So I'm going to put my needle down and that will tell me. So ready? Doesn't sound good, did it? Just go, turn to your tortoise. Let me just show you here. There's your tortoise. So just go slowly. I'm going to go forwards, and then I'm going to go backwards. There we go, and then I'm going to go forwards again. You can hold your thread here and help to pull your, let's hold it that way. She did it. Now I know the old machine would not have been able to sew that so well. So if you do struggle with some of these thicker fabrics, you may want to think about getting a machine that was more of a heavy duty. What you can do, as I said, you've got a hand crank on here, and you can roll that if ever your machine doesn't want to work. I will show you now. So all you need to do is turn the handle, and what it does is it lifts up and it just sews as normal. Okay, that's all you need to do, and the stitching will be the same. I'm just taking it slowly. You can hear the reluctance to go through the fabric. Now, where is that other pin? The other pin is in about the same place as that one. So I'm going to stop here. And then I'm going to take that pin out. There we go. Smooth that down. Take out that pin. Still holding on my fabrics. So if you have trouble with the pleats in the centre as well, because there's even more fabrics in there, as I've shown you, you can just use the hand shank and you can just turn it, hand crank. You can use the hand crank and you can turn that around. Jackie says, I use a rotary cutter and cutting straight lines, but scissors for curves. Okay. Right, I'm going to take this pin out. and then let's carry on sewing. I'm almost holding my breath, can you tell? Stop. Take this one out. Now, did we have another one underneath there? We did. So just remember where your pins are, okay? Now, you can sew over pins, as I said, I know some people do, but with the with those pins, they weren't in sideways, they weren't in at 90 degrees, they were in lengthways. So that would not have been great to have sewn through those, because I would have sewn, the pin was going this way, so I'd have just been hitting the pin all the way along. Just going to keep going. It's quite a thick, we'll see what happens. We'll keep going. One more, maybe one more. There we go. Now what I do is I put 2 fingers either side holding onto my fabric, and I'm just going to help guide it backwards, and then I'm going to press the back stitch. And then I'm going to do it once more, and then cut. There we go. So let's move our machine for the final time. There we go. And you can now see there is our waistband, okay, and there are our ties, and I've got mine round the right way. Now what I will do is I will model this for you later. I will put some pictures up so you can see, because obviously it's harder to see on here, and I will post some pictures so you can see how it all finished. Let's move some of those other things out of the way. There we go. And there is, should we turn it that way around? And there is our Jubilee apron. Now what I haven't done is I haven't flipped it over yet. I haven't flipped it over to see what the stitching is on the other side. Shall we look together? Not that bad. There we go. And there's our little pleat in the centre. So what I can do is this one will match my kitchen for a normal day, and then the other one I can use during the Jubilee. So there you go. There is our beautiful apron. If you do make one, please remember to post a picture so that we can see. Let's have a look at our Jubilee side again. Now I think the person that's that this is for is going to love it, hopefully, because it's, as I've said, it's not screaming Jubilee, because you've got the white, it is blending in there. It's not screaming Jubilee, but it's quite a pretty apron. Thank you so much for joining us, and we will see you back again on Saturday at 10 AM, and we were looking at pockets and applying some binding for pockets. We will see you then. Bye.